The third experience of Epiphany I would like to share with you brings me back to birth and the daily experiences here in our maternity hospital. These are epiphanies in the happiest sense. Every day, proud parents bursting with joy and excitement look into the faces of their newborn babies and see perfection and beauty. Such love, such adoration, such hope. This is the part we all remember. However, there are other parents whose hearts both burst and ache at the same time when they look at their baby with love and pain equally beyond measure. Sadly, through illness or for no apparent reason, their baby will not survive or has already died. And yet this baby is loved like every other and holds the imprint of God, created in God's image through the love of their mum and their dad. This is an epiphany like no other. Perhaps the last place you would expect to see God. No gold, no frankincense, just the myrrh of grief. Where is God in the midst of this devastating pain? It's all too easy to try and answer this with cheap words when in reality there are no words. I remember every baby that I have cared for in grief, but today I think of one little baby girl who radiated the image of God. Her name is Talia, and she was born on the 29th of December 2010. I remember Talia's service of naming and celebration. It was framed by love that was flowing and radiating in rainbow style, where everyone present was touched in a way like we were the treasure at the end of Talia's particular rainbow. I'm honoured to be joined by Talia's mum, Jerry, and her dad, Martin, and Talia's younger brother, Isaac, who is only 5 months old, as they share their story about their spiritual journey in the midst of life and pain.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for asking us here today. We're delighted to be able to share Talia's story. I suppose to begin in the beginning, I found out at 20 weeks pregnant that Talia had anencephaly. Now, at the time, we didn't know we had a baby girl on the way. We just knew that we were pregnant with the baby we very, very much wanted. We were looking forward to having a sibling for our now 4-year-old girl, Mia. It all seemed so perfect. There'd be a 2.5-year gap. And the future looked bright and wonderful. And during a routine scan in the hospital, I'll never forget it, sort of time stood still. I found out that actually Talia had anencephaly, which means that basically she would not survive for long after birth. She might not even make it to birth, is what I found out. And if she did, we were talking minutes, hours, at the very most 1 or 2 days. So really our world fell apart, because for us, well, that's what now? And the day, I think for both of us, Martin, is kind of one that is the worst day of our lives, because it was hopeless. That was it. We had to surrender every wish we'd had for our family, we thought at the time, and we just didn't know how to make sense or how to make meaning of what was happening to us. Even though before all of this happened, I would have considered myself, a reasonably spiritual person, slightly sort of middle of the road. And I remember saying to Martin on the day, okay, we're middle of the road people with middle of the road beliefs. We'd better develop a very strong conviction, because we're going to be defined by all time by what we do now and how we react to what's happening to us. And for some reason, the whole day that we found out that Talia had anencephaly, the one thing that was going through my mind was that scene from the garden in the Bible where Jesus says, take this cup from me, or I'm paraphrasing, I know of it. That just went through my head repeatedly. And it's funny because I wouldn't naturally have gone to the Bible and found, but I just felt I can't cope with this. This is beyond human coping, or is how I felt. And we both thought that there's just no way we'll emerge from this as sane people. There just can't possibly be. So then I suppose we learned a lot about ourselves in the whole process as to, well, actually everybody has that reserve in them. And for us, we decided to go to term with our child. We felt that we wanted to respect her natural life cycle and to savour every single second that we had with her. which seems like it would be a difficult thing to do because we just had, as far as we knew, the duration of the pregnancy. We didn't actually tell an awful lot of people about the diagnosis. It felt like something we wanted to keep quite private, even though our family and close friends knew. And that was largely because we didn't want people sympathising with us and saying, I'm so sorry, your child won't be with you or won't survive, because we felt it was more important to focus on her life and not to be kind of grieving her before she was gone.
The fact that, it's still your baby, and that it can be extremely rewarding to celebrate the life of the baby and to, see it as a blessing. And so, having thought about it a little bit, we decided that was the only route for us, just to put that meaning on the whole situation and celebrate the life of the child, even though it was going to be a short life.
Choosing a name for our baby was difficult because we wanted something very special for her, and we found out that we were having a girl, and it took us 2 weeks to come up with a name we felt was special enough for her. And we chose Talia because it means heaven's dew, as in dew of the morning, and that to us seemed beautiful, that she was, here for a short period of time, but nonetheless beautiful for being with us for that short a time. What we had decided to do, knowing that our time with Talia was so limited, was to savour every single second that we had with her. And that was hard because we were very acutely aware that every second with Talia was a second closer to losing her. But it's amazing how time kind of slowed down, or everything became so amplified because it was time with Talia. So I remember things like going into the garden and it being an unseasonably warm day in October, and just kind of lifting my shirt so the sun could shine down on my tummy and hoping she could feel that somehow. Little things like that we really, really tried to savour every experience that we had with her. Meeting Talia then for the first time was so profound. It was extraordinary. Because we'd kind of come to know her in a way, or had our own relationship with her and had built up to meeting her, but we thought, she was due in February, so we thought we were going to be meeting her in February. We had a wonderful Christmas with family, and the very next day it was obvious I was going into labour, which was 2 months early. And I was very, very sad, because I thought, well, this is the only time I have with my child, and now even that's getting cut short. So even though people thought, oh, well, at least you're kind of speeding along the process and coming out of that limbo state, for me it was being, and for both of us, wasn't it, being robbed of those 2 months with our child.
Yeah.
And so it was sad. I remember the night I was in labour just before she was born, and just me and Talia, and it was really, really quiet, and I could feel her moving, and she was so vibrantly alive to me. I couldn't believe that her life was coming to an end, and I just kind of spoke to her and said, this is it, this is your little circle is starting to be completed, and your time here is nearly over. And it was very sad. But then when she was born, there was an amazing feeling in the room. It's very hard to articulate, isn't it? That kind of quietness, and just looking at her, she seemed so perfect, really. Her heart beat for an hour. She never took a breath, but in a way it was more beautiful, because it was just like this slow ebbing. It wasn't this tortured sort of.
We didn't have to see her struggle for breath or anything like that, which was good. It was a real blessing. And we were really ready for that reality, and then when she did pass, then we were able to appreciate her as a baby. We were able to look at her hands and legs and enjoy her, because we knew we didn't have much time with her.
And that meant so much, because for us, we took the theme of the rainbow and we asked everybody to come to the service in as colourful a clothes as they could. We said, it's a child. At the end of the day, this is our child. This is a celebration of her birth, as much as we can make it. So I just remember everybody on that really sad day the most amazing profusion of colour in the room, greens, purples, reds, yellows. It was absolutely wonderful. And, you know, since then, I say to my daughter Mia, I say every time that there's a rainbow in the sky, I say that's Talia saying hello.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You do realise, you learn so much about yourself through the experience, and you learn how good people are. And we had people on the day after we found out bringing us soup and pots of stew and things like that. It changes you profoundly as well. You start to see with amazing clarity everybody else. Like, you're not so consumed with yourself. You see other people's problems, and I definitely developed more of a social conscience after just the initial shock and everything like that. But it's really life affirming, and I think that's the biggest change personally,
because it's like something has been stripped away. I remember at the time I'd written down somewhere that it did feel like the outer layers had been stripped away and something more sincere was after coming to the surface. I think it's a rawness, really.
And of course, all that you have shared with us so movingly and so poignantly is so beautifully expressed in the song that you composed in honour of Talia.
So just to say a word about how I was influenced to write Meant for Spring. I was talking to my dad, and he said that he was thinking about our situation, and that his own mother was 97, and that she'd lived a long life, and that was her span that she was allowed, that was her lot, and she got to live that long. And Talia would only live in the womb, but that was what she was given, and they both had a life. And I thought that was really interesting idea, that it's the life itself that's important, and not really the length and what you do with that life. And also Christy Keneally's poem Dear Parents was really excellent in conveying that sense of enjoying or celebrating the life, however short, even if it is just for the length of the pregnancy.
Once a little family had a little mystery, everybody wondering who you really were. Could you be a rainbow shining for a little while? Maybe you're a butterfly staying for a day. We don't believe in hows and whys. We saw the answer in your eyes. Some see all life can bring. You were just meant for spring. Some will feel winter sting. You were just meant for spring. Maybe you were mystified seeing us in such a spin, but we were only learning, and now we understand. You were of another kind, meant to follow destiny, staying just a little while, but touching everyone. It's not a case of right or wrong. It's just another kind of song. Some see all life can bring. You were just meant for spring. stay